All right, so welcome back to another episode. And specifically, if you are a church or you're part of some type of nonprofit here, I have one of our roofing consultants and project managers, David Hall, with us, who's going to dive deep into all of that stuff related to roofing. 'Cause he's done several projects recently with those types of people, and I'd say it's a unique aspect of roofing compared to just your retail building related to commercials. And we'll also, get to know a little bit more about David as well. So appreciate you hanging out, brother.
I appreciate it, Ben. Absolutely. It's good to be here. It's a great opportunity to kind of dive a little bit deeper into this and into more of the commercial side of things, but really when it comes to churches, nonprofits, that sort of thing. Particularly right now, we have a great relationship with the Diocese of Orlando. So we've been doing a lot of work for them, done several projects for them recently, just in the last couple months. One of them was for St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Palm Bay, where we replaced the roof of their chapel there. And then the other one was a walkway between two of the buildings at Blessed Sacrament Church in Cocoa, Florida. We were able to do that roof and get them taken care of as well. So it's a cool opportunity to get to work on, churches and buildings of that significance that have maybe a higher purpose or a calling for their use than even just a regular commercial building or a business or something like that. It's fun to be a part of that and help in the restoration, the beautifying of those buildings.
Yeah, both were really beautiful projects, and it was cool. I got to document some of those. But what do you think? I mean, I feel like the main thing that sticks out to me with these types of organizations is just having a roofing partner that they can actually trust. I know that word kind of gets thrown around a lot as, you need to make sure you can trust your roofing contractor. Yeah. But talk to me a little bit about the financial side of these types of roofing projects, like relying on the ties and things of that nature.
Yeah, and it's something that we've talked about before, but when it comes to working with churches, with these nonprofits, things like that, something that I am uniquely aware of, or maybe intimately aware of, just because of the involvement I have in my own church and understanding and donating and all that to my church, and understanding that there are in my opinion, sacred tithes, sacred funds that go into, paying for these projects, whether it's tithes, offerings, that sort of thing, other donations. And so for me, when I'm looking at a roofing project, whether it's for the Diocese, of Orlando, the Catholic Church, or any other church, I want to make sure that we are being respectful of those funds, being respectful of that institution, the work that we're doing, making sure that we're doing the best quality work, making sure that everything is done right, looks right, that the highest level of quality is there, which we strive to do on every job, but especially these jobs. I want to make sure that we are really taking care of everything from start to finish, and really, putting out our best work and taking care of these buildings, these institutions and things, and being respectful of those funds and being aware of where those funds come from. The widow's mite. It could be, donations from any member of that congregation that could be helping pay for, that roof replacement. And so, I'm always going to do my best to give, the best pricing, be very competitive when it comes to that, make sure we're giving the best materials, making sure that we're using, the best of the best of the installers, the people that are going to pay attention to the details, and really, take care of those places, and not just in the installation, but throughout the installation, the areas around where we're working, keeping things neat and tidy as best as possible in those, types of situations and in a construction zone. But really just being respectful and mindful of all the areas around the other people that are there that may be working at the church or at that building, that organization, or around the area, people that may be using the same parking lots or same areas.
Yeah.
Making sure that we're being mindful of those things, planning ahead and thinking about those things, and really making sure that we are doing our best to control that environment to the best possible, keeping it neat and organized, and maintain the best that we can throughout the length of the project.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. I feel like it just comes down to really just having respect for those people in that building, and then also being considerate of the timelines. Because when we do projects like this, they're not usually not very small. Like sometimes they can be pretty big. So let's talk about the Palm Bay project. One thing that they touched on that they were really appreciative was like the whole logistical side of things. So like, how did you approach the logistical side, working with the production team here, and in general, how do you approach that when it comes to a church? Like they may still have service going on or different activities.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is communication. Staying in constant communication with, the project managers at the diocese who are working with the project managers or maintenance teams there at the church, or whoever's helping kind of run things, just to make sure that we're in constant communication with them, letting them know when people are going to be there, how long they're going to be there. As you mentioned, adjusting, our work schedule around, anything that the church may still have going on. Like you mentioned, Palm Bay, they had services, I believe, every morning that they would do kind of a morning mass that they would do throughout the week. And so starting out, we had to be very careful to work around those times. As we went on, the father there, said, hey, you know what, we're okay with you working kind of during these times. We were able to be kind of respectful and make sure that they're not making any unnecessary noise or anything like that. And so we were able to kind of work through that. But then other times they would have funerals and things that they were doing. They were still running funerals, running other services, at the time during the day while we were there. And so we were just in constant communication with the maintenance coordinator there, in communication with her on what was going on, when we needed to be out of the way. Our guys would take, their lunch break, even if it was a little bit early on those days, if there was a funeral or something like that, give enough of a buffer time for people to kind of come and go, and then, be able to go back and get back to work. And so I think communication is the biggest thing. It's what's really important to me. I have a tendency to over communicate. Sometimes some people may be like, whoa, okay, David, like that's a little bit too much. Like I don't need to know like the play-by-play. But I would rather over communicate and have somebody tell me like, okay, you don't have to give me everything, than under communicate and have there be questions, concerns, problems, because that's what happens when there's breakdowns in communications, is that things don't happen, things are missed, things are messed up. People are trying to get in for a service, and there's still stuff going on and they're being loud, and I never want that to happen again. I think that comes a lot back to that respect, and respecting those institutions, respecting in this case the Catholic Church as a whole, what they do, what they stand for, and just wanting to make this as easy and good.
Seamless.
Seamless, good, as a process as we possibly can, and to be to minimize the amount of disruption that we cause in their day-to-day lives and services, and the great services and things that they offer to the community, and the key role that they play, in the community, and
Sure.
for other congregations. And so, it's important to have that communication, to make sure that we're coordinating with them, letting them know when we're dropping off materials, talking about logistics, letting them know when we're dropping off materials, where we're putting it, dumpsters, make sure we're coordinating all those things so that, again, we're not blocking anything, that we're not taking up too much space, that we're not making it difficult for other people there, because they also had a school there. They have a school there
Yeah.
at the St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Palm Bay, and so we had to be aware of, pick up and drop off lines and where people are coming through, and keeping those places those areas clean and open and available for them to come through. And so just coordinating all those things, communicating those things, letting them know kind of what was happening on our end, and just making sure that there's always, complete and open communication throughout the whole process.
Yeah, I think one thing that comes to mind just with all that is like a lot of people can talk a good game, but it comes down to the project and executing, right, and, talking about coordinating everything. Yeah. And that's really like, I think what makes the big difference is the experience that they have. And then, right, of course, the install, the quality of the craftsmanship and all that type of stuff. Right. But so far that, you've done several inspections, or, you've bidded on different projects, right, of these types of buildings. Have you seen, like, unbiasedly, have you seen some of these people, like, what mistakes do you kind of see these people making, or what are some things that they should, like, look out for when they, they know they have a roof issue and they're getting several contractors, right, involved bidding on this project? Like, I guess unbiasedly, what advice would you give them when approaching this type of project?
I think it's important, obviously, and again, going back to kind of where these funds come from to pay for these things, cost is always going to be a factor, and wanting to, again, be respectful of that, and not only on our end, but also those people that are responsible for those funds and disseminating those funds, paying for, approving these jobs and paying for them from those funds. They want to be very careful with, how much they're spending, and that they're staying in their budgets, or that they're being, responsible with those funds. But sometimes it can lead people to just go with the cheapest price that's there. Yeah. And that's not always the best route. Right.
Especially with a project that scale.
Yeah, especially with a project that size. Sometimes we've been on the lower end on some of these bids. Sometimes, I don't think we've been on the high end. I would say I'm typically in the middle on some of these projects, again, just because of where funding comes from. I try and, bid them a little bit less, and try and, give them the best pricing I can. So maybe to the mid low on a lot of these projects. But you definitely want to look out for that. You want to be cautious of just going with the cheapest price. You don't necessarily need to go with the most expensive price. I don't think that's necessary. But, knowing who you're dealing with, obviously it helps if they've already done work for you before, and you can see, again, how they communicate, how they treated, the property and the church and the people and all of that, and the quality of craftsmanship that they did. But even if you haven't, being able to hopefully talk to other people that have worked with them, other people that, they have used, get an idea of what that experience was like. Obviously, there's, always reviews and things like that, that will help with that. But, I think it comes down to, do you trust that person that you're talking to? How professional are they? How respectful are they about what's going on, what they're going to be doing, and just making sure that, that everything feels right and connects with what you're looking to accomplish. And again, that sometimes that may be the lower price, but not always. And oftentimes, you're probably going to be somewhere in the middle. You're looking for somebody who's going to give the best value for the quality of work that they're going to provide, but isn't the cheapest, option out there. Because obviously, if they're the cheapest, then oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, they're cutting corners somewhere, or they're not accounting for certain things, and so just got to be careful with that sort of thing, and be able to kind of discern a little bit between kind of the people that you're working with and the companies they represent.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like I'm not a, well, I know I'm not a roofing consultant, but just being around different people in the company, or sometimes even being a part of inspections and talking to everybody, getting to know everyone, I feel like the thing that we do well, or that I think every roofing contractor should do well, is just having a detailed having a detailed proposal and being
Absolutely.
able to explain that
Yeah.
clearly with clarity so that they can
Yeah.
understand everything. And then of course you have the product and the warranty and the price.
Right.
But I feel like one of the big things that I see you guys that we do well is being detail
Yeah.
oriented and
Yep.
explaining things very thoroughly to people. So that seems to be
Yeah.
a huge part compared to, you can tell when certain guys may not care of like, oh yeah, here's the price, boom, give me a call, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely kind of fly by night operations, and that's definitely not what we are. And then you hit it right on the head there. That having that detail oriented inspection and proposal is huge, and that's something that they had mentioned at the Catholic Church that they had appreciated about kind of the proposals and things that we did is we were as detailed as humanly possible that we could be about everything that was going to be involved, as much as we could, tell and be able to account for at the outset, and then also detailing, every step of the process, what exactly we're going to do, what all was involved, what those line items that are included in that price, and then specifics of, materials and manufacturers, and, specifics of warranties, and all these things. And that brings a lot of trust, that brings trust that you're not trying to hide anything, that they know, what you're working with, what you're using, what type of materials and things. So there's no question or
if you're cutting corners or anything.
yeah, and there's complete transparency. They know what to expect. They know, everybody knows what is supposed to happen, and that really helps, that whole process. And so that transparency and that detail oriented sort of proposal definitely helps in that process to be able to kind of discern who really knows what they're talking about, and who's really going to pay attention to the details during the install throughout the whole process, and may really make sure that they're doing the best job possible.
Yeah. I guess just, I don't know if there is anything, but what would you say on this, like the Palm Bay job, on the Cocoa job? What was something you learned on these projects that you didn't expect to? I know you have experience in roofing, but
Yeah.
was there anything that popped up that maybe you learned from these projects?
I think there were some things that I learned as we were planning for them, as we were, starting to do some of that logistics and coordination, communication, just maybe kind of the scope of some of these, jobs, and then really just how much more involved it is, how many more, parties there are that are involved that we need to make sure are on the same page. And so I think it really came back to that communication aspect, and really making sure that we were communicating clearly and often, with everybody involved. When you're doing a residential, house, you're basically just talking with the owner, and
Yeah.
that's really all you're dealing with. You show up, you tear the roof off, put the new roof on, do whatever inspections you have, and that's pretty much it. Here we had, project managers at the diocese. We had the maintenance teams and coordinators at the church. We had, administrative personnel. We had the fathers, the reverends of the parishes themselves. We had all these other people that were involved, and so it just took a little bit more attention to detail, some more intentionality about what we were doing, making sure again that kind of everything was clear and properly communicated, and it just helped us to pay a little bit more attention to those details I was talking about. Definitely on a commercial job, there's more involved than your standard, sort of residential deal, even just on the install side. And so there was definitely more, I learned more about, commercial. I've done some other, commercial jobs and, all that, but there was even more that I was able to learn about that side of things, on what all is involved. What sort of things do we need to be paying attention to when we're making a bid, doing a bid, a proposal, on that sort of thing. Again, coming back to kind of those details, and being as clear and detailed as possible about the whole process, everything that's involved, and making sure that we're accounting for everything.
Yeah, no, that's on point. I feel like just from observing these different projects, it seems like the main thing is every project is different. So coordination is going to be a little bit different. And obviously there's all this communication in between, and then the crew goes out and executes. So it's just very interesting how every project's different. You just have to be on your feet sometimes with executing. But I guess to wrap things up, is there anything that you think people of a church or nonprofit would find beneficial knowing before they go into a roofing project? I feel like we've hit almost everything that goes into it, but
I think the last thing I'll just say is find somebody that cares. I care deeply, and our company as a whole cares about these institutions. We're a faith-based company, and a lot of people say that, but we definitely are, and we definitely, and me in particular, and I know the other guys on our team, care about taking care of these buildings, whether it is a church or even a nonprofit that's just providing a service, a good to the community, to our areas, our neighborhoods, and things like that. We care about helping people that help people. We care about taking care of these. Again, these buildings, these houses of worship, these places where people do the things that our Lord and Savior would do. And so, we try at our very best to do everything, as, to the highest quality and to the highest level of, again, respect and care that we can, and to, treat these places, these organizations, these churches as if they were our own. If that's where we were going to worship, and to, really take part in the things that really matter most in life. And so other people may not see it that way, but I think that's something that's definitely important to me. And as I've looked at, these jobs and doing these jobs here, looking at doing jobs for my own church, doing jobs for other churches here in the community, I just want to make sure that they're being taken care of, that they're getting, the best possible job and best systems and workmanship that they possibly can, and again respecting and honoring those funds and things that pay for it, and just really making sure that they're taken care of, and that they're happy with the end result.
Well said, brother. But thanks for sharing everything, man. I hope you all found this video valuable. And if you have a future project coming up, or if you have any questions, just reach out to us here at Swordsmen Roofing, and we'll be happy to help.